Meet the Transfers USC Trojans edition. Muss Bus heads to the West Coast and the Big Ten at the same time. Sometimes I forget that Eric Musselman is a Big Ten basketball coach, and that warms my heart. I'm excited to see how that works out. It could be great. It could be a disaster, you know?
I want to make it unequivocally clear. This is an Eric Musselman podcast. This is a Musselman family podcast.
I don't know that I can go that far yet, but we'll give it a try. So this is Meet the Transfers. We're going through ranking all of the best transfer classes in the country. USC ranks 13th on our consensus list. Does that feel right to you?
I think yes, it does, staying consistent with the fact that they brought in a lot. They brought in a lot of guys, and they brought in a lot of guys that I think were successful at their previous stop, at least in the points per game category. Maybe not in the winning category as much, but they got buckets.
You had them ranked 14th. I had them ranked 16th. I think it feels about right. Just maybe a little too high for my liking. This is going to be the theme of my thoughts on this roster, but they got a bunch of players. How many do we know are good?
I can safely say, well, I mean, given that there's how many new guys?
Like, obviously, some of these guys are going to be good. There's 11 new players from the transfer portal on this team. There's no way you simulate this season. There's no way zero of them are going to be good. But there's only one that I know is good. And that scares me because USC, like with Muss, I would have thought could get some more proven high profile guys.
We can talk about it more, but I'll disagree with you. I think they have at least five guys that
Wow. Okay. You're going to have to
maybe
carry me.
maybe more. Honestly, looking at it, I should have rated them higher, to be honest.
Carry me to the promised land here. Okay, let's start with just a simple question. Did Eric Musselman do what he set out to do with this transfer class?
I think he did. I think he did. There's a lot of attrition on this team, and he brought in a lot of new guys that I think can play his style too. I think there's a lot of guys that can play up and down, shoot the ball, score the ball. Defensively, I don't know if it really matches up with how kind of Musselman teams have operated in the past, but I think that he had to replace a whole roster for a team that's moving to a new conference out of the Pac-12, and I think that he did that.
Yeah, I think Muss's main job was get a roster full of 13 warm-blooded individuals, and I think he did that. The seats are filled on the bus. Uh, Yeah, that's all. Like, I don't think we could even get greedy and ask for more, but I'm going to ask for more in just a second. What's one big thing that Musk could have done differently that would have helped this transfer class and elevated it in your mind?
Get some players that have played on a team that's won over 20 games.
Yeah, anybody, please? That'd be nice. That'd be really
Well,
nice.
actually, did Terrence Williams play on some winning teams at Michigan?
He was on the one that went to the Sweet 16 with Diabate and Houston.
There you go.
Wouldn't call them a winning team, but they were fine. Yeah, it's another must locker room. That's for sure. And that scares me. I think I don't know, man. It's oversimplifying it, but like everyone on this roster either was on a losing team last year or was a prolific guy on a lower level non-high major team or a role player on a high major team, some of them combinations of the three. I just want, I wish there was one guy in this class that we're like, we know that guy's a stud at the high major level. Like, I think Muss is that caliber of recruiter. Muss should be able to go head to head with the biggest names in this sport. Like, imagine, Cart, if you took the top five guys in this class and threw them on Duke or Kentucky or North Carolina or Kansas, aren't we kind of like, why? Like I'm not saying for all of them. Like Des Claude's a guy. St. Thomas is people love his potential. There's other names I'm sure you're going to try and talk me into, but to me it is missing like the obvious stone cold killer. And I would have thought Musk could at least get one of those guys.
Yeah, given Muss's track record at Arkansas, you expected maybe one like big guy, one
Yeah.
big fish.
Yeah. And Des Claude's a relatively large fish, but I think I love this whole class better if there's an obvious number one and you slide everybody down one spot. I think they might be stretched a little thin. We're gonna go player by player. Like we said, there's 11 of these guys. So um, let's do it. We're gonna start with Wesley Yates, who has transferred from Washington after redshirting last season as the number 44 ranked player in the class of 2023. We don't have any stats to go off of with Wesley Yates, but what do you make of Yates and what's his role?
So I think there is a role for Yates down the road. I was a pretty big fan of his out of high school, but I think he's going to be a non-factor this season given the makeup of the roster.
I'm going non-factor. There's too many guys that are old that transferred here to play, and Yates does not apply to that. But I do like him as a prospect. You basically are treating him like a freshman, and it's a good one to add for a program that's restarting under a new coach. Next up is Kevin Patton Jr. He's the only player in this 11-man class that did not score 10 or more points per game last year. 9.8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Shot it okay, 34% from three. He's from San Diego, and he's got 3 years of eligibility left. What do you make of Patton?
I kind of feel the same way as I do with Wesley Gates with him. Sorry, Wesley Yates. I think he'll be a non-factor on this team, but I want to make it unequivocally clear. Kevin Patton's going to be a guy at USC by the time he leaves there. I
Really?
actually think he's going to be a pro.
Why? What's talk to me? What's the path to the pros and why? Just 6'8" guard?
His film got me, and it might be tricking me, but his film got me.
What do you see on the film?
I think he's a 6'8" like wing with guard skills. I think he'll be a pretty good shooter. He has a little bit of a handle. I'm trying to think who I would compare him to necessarily, but like I don't know. I think there's something there with him. The potential's there. He's not like a non-passer. He's not like a non-rebounder. Would I like some better stats as a freshman at San Diego? Of course, but like the size and the things that I saw on tape kind of intrigued me. But he's a non-factor for this year's team.
There's some defensive stuff too, like over a steal, over a block a game. Could I throw out a Kaishawn George comp and see what you think?
I like that. I was gonna maybe lean even like a Jaden McDaniels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm in. I think he is going to play. I believe in the talent of him, even if the production wasn't there last year. And this might be a wide open disaster type year. There could be a point where maybe Musk throws in the towel on the old guys and just says, like, you know what? It's not benefiting me to play Terrence Williams 25 minutes. Let's give Kevin Patton some run. And I think he'll shine when given that opportunity. So I'm going to call him a role player. I think he carves out minutes on this team. Next on the list. Matt Noling from Yale, very, very good glue guy type. 56% from the floor last season, 11 and a half points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Not a shooter, 14% from three last year. What do you make of Noling?
I think he'll be a role guy. I think he'll be a role player. Like you said, I think he's a guy that must will if shit's going awry, you throw Matt Nolan in there. And I think you maybe settle things down, feel a little bit better. But role player might even be high for him, but I'm gonna go with role player.
I'm going to say he's a role player, but here's my issue. I don't think a high major team that wins more than 10 games can play Matt Noling and Terrence Williams both.
Mm.
So to me, like you're hoping one of those guys wins the minutes, and I think you're hoping Terrence Williams does because he can shoot. But Nolan might be better at everything else than Terrence Williams, and they feel very redundant to me. Like they're both like bigger wing types that are kind of gross, and I don't know. But Nolan, I mean, Nolan's Yale teams have been good. So if we are looking for one guy with winning intangibles, I think it might be Matt Nolan. Next up on the list is Terrence Williams, the aforementioned Michigan transfer. What an up and down career for Terrence. He was horrendous his previous season before this year. Really, really took some strides. Shot 40% from three in his final season at Michigan before transferring to USC. 12 points a game, 4.5 rebounds last year. A true tweener, 6'7". Jim Root lists him as a guard. Jim Root lists him as the starting shooting guard on this team, which tells you how I feel about this roster. What do you make of Terrence Williams?
So I'm calling Terrence Williams a starter. But Jim, I love you, brother. No. Terrence Williams is your starting shooting guard. I'm selling all stock with this team, but I do think that he is a starter on this basketball team. I think he'll be able to knock down shots at a respectable clip from three. I think he brings enough in the rest of parts of aspects of basketball that will benefit a team. Um, do you want Terrence Williams being your seventh guy if you're a great team? Probably. Unfortunately, given the way it is, I think he's going to be a starter.
Where is he starting, though? He's not starting over Des Claude, St. Thomas. Is he starting over Bryce Pope? Is he starting over Slager? Like, is he starting at the four?
I was going to say maybe start at the four.
Start with the four over Agbo? I
Maybe
like
yes.
Card. He's nowhere near a top five player on this team if these guys are actually good. And you claim you like a lot of these guys.
I
So
do. Okay. You might have talked me out of that one.
Well, just either if he starts, that means you don't like the other guys to me.
Well,
But
I just did that exercise in my. I thank you for bringing that exercise to the forefront. He's a role player.
I got him as a role player, which I think would be a good thing for USC. Don't ask him to do more than he's capable of. That was often the issue at Michigan, and I really respect the strides he took. He was great this last season at Michigan. If he could be the exact guy he was a year ago for Michigan in a seventh man role for USC, it would mean really, really good things for USC. Next up is Chibuzo Agbo from Boise State, 6'7", kind of hybrid wing type. He can shoot it a little bit, pretty good percentages guy. What do you make of Agbo? He started at Texas Tech for 2 years, then Boise State last year, where he had the best year of his career.
So, given our recent discussion, I think Agbo is going to be I think he will be a starter on this basketball team. I like him. I put Agbo in the category of, at least when I watched last year, I'm like, this guy like should be honestly better than he is. He's got a little Kaluma to his game, I guess, in that sense. Arthur Kaluma. Like he was very productive, had his best year at Boise State, like you said. I'm interested to see if he can replicate that because I've always found myself watching him like, why isn't this guy like better, I guess?
I mean, he was really good last year. Also, I sold him short by saying he can kind of shoot a little bit. He was a knockdown shooter. 5 attempts a game last season at 41%. That's more attempts than I remembered. Like when I watched Boise, I feel like I wasn't seeing that.
Well,
But
I feel like he realized that last season. I'm scared if that's like a flash in the pan season or can he do that again?
I mean, he's off 2 straight seasons of starting pretty much every game for Boise and shooting 5 threes a game at 40%. So
Yeah.
at guarantee, he's a proven shooter. I think he's a starter. I think he may end up being one of the very best players on this team. And if you're going to play Des Claude in a big role, which you will, you need shooting around him. And Ogbo's a perfect fit there. I love this is one of the guys I love from us this year. Really good fit. I think he starts at the 4. Next up. Sorry, I'm doing all the mental max. We're going in order of points per game, but there's so many guys that all scored in the teens here. We're gonna go to Josh
It's
Cohen.
Josh Cohen.
Josh Cohen from UMass, 6'10", likely the starting big on this team. I think. Is
Yeah,
he?
starting center.
Yeah,
Yeah, starting center.
yeah.
You don't like Josh Cohen?
Ah,
He's very productive, man.
yeah.
Like crazy productive.
He
Like
was. I mean, the year at St. Francis, his junior season was like stupid good, and he was good at UMass last year too.
yeah, like yeah, I'm buying. Like he's a starter. He's a good center.
I think you're right. I think I should not be as skeptical of Josh Cohen. All of the numbers just scream pure production. I think it's because I'm inherently skeptical of guys who have played at 2 different schools before transferring to their third school. Like to me,
Mhm.
that just screams like you're never happy and it doesn't work out. But he's earned bigger opportunities every step of the way. Um, my only thing is this: I think at the lower levels, you want him to be your star. What does Josh Cohen look like if you don't want him to be your star? Like, does he do little things that make him worth being the fifth option on this team or no?
I can't answer that confidently.
That would scare me. Like it's like, oh, we need 25 from you tonight. Go crush the A10. But in the Big Ten, are you ready to like bang with Vlad Golden all game while Des Claude shoots 20 times? That would intimidate me a little bit. I think he's the starter, but I don't know that he's a great one at the Big Ten level.
Mm.
Next on the list is Des Claude. I really like Des Claude from Xavier. The only thing Des Claude cannot do is shoot the basketball. 24% last season, but scored 16 and a half points, 3.5 assists. Bigger guard, 6'5". I think they're going to play him at the 2, but there is a world where they run like a jumbo lineup and he plays some point guard for this team. What do you think his role will be for USC?
I think he's certified starter. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you even got to the star point with him because look, yes, the 3-point percentage wasn't there, but like, he improved his free throw percentage like over almost like damn near 20%. He shot 8% from the line last season. So it's like it's not like it's completely broken. So maybe he finds something, but shooting 29% and then shooting 24% as 3-pointers just kind of doesn't make you feel too good. But the dude can get buckets. Like
Yeah.
he still gets buckets and he shot 43% from the field. So I think starter, maybe even I wouldn't be surprised if he went star.
I'm going star, Cart. I think this is USC's best player, and I think at minimum, even if they're not a good team, he could have a Tremont Mark like season where we're
Mm.
like watching. Oh, Tremont Mark had 32 tonight in a 24-point loss. Like I could see a lot of that from Des Claude. What I will say is offensively, I think they have the right spacing around him. I think they're going to make his life easier, and that's it's a good roster fit that he has shooters around him. Also, I think Des Claude might be what people pretend Bronny James is.
Wow, that's quite the statement.
Yeah, just like a 6'4", 6'5" guard with some size that can pass a little bit. Is not a shooter, but can fill everything else up. Like that's, I think he's what people want Bronny to be, but he clearly isn't. Next on the list, we're going to Clark Slager from Penn. Another knockdown, dead eye shooter, 42% from three last year. He played 35 minutes a game. What do you make of him and what's his role?
I'm the thing is Clark, like you said, is a knockdown shooter. I'm just very, very skeptical of his size, to be honest with you. I think that at his size, I think he'll struggle. He's a knockdown shooter, but I don't necessarily look at him as a guy who's just like go crazy, go get a bucket. He had an incredible year last year. He raised his 3-point percentage up. What? Let's see here. Almost 8 percentage point. He shot 42% from three, like you said. I'm skeptical of the 6'1", 170 guy who I don't think has shit to him being good.
I'm intrigued by this one because I feel like there's never been a less Eric Musselman player than Clark Slager, and like we're gonna have something's got to give, right? I think he's a role player. I think he's just a sniper off the bench. He may end up playing a lot of minutes if the team truly needs shooting. Like if Terrence Williams can't make shots again, I think you can throw this guy in and trust him. And if you're building around Des Claude, he needs to be surrounded by shooting. So there's a world where he plays a lot, but it would be best for USC if he comes off the bench. Next on the list is Bryce Pope. This is the second to last name on the list. Bryce Pope from UC San Diego, where last season he scored 18 points a game. Not really a passer, not a playmaker for others, only 1.9 assists, but a volume scorer, 42% from the floor, 33% from three. Give me the scout.
This is another one. It's just like these are Musselman did a interesting job of getting guys that don't strike me as Eric Musselman guys. I think Pope and Clark both fall into that fold, but you know, I think he's a guy that is a volume shooter, a volume scorer. And unfortunately, I have a hard time seeing how that translates into the Big Ten, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen from Bryce Pope.
Are you more confident Pope or Slager could play at the Big Ten level? Because to me, it's clearly Pope to me. Like I think he has
Yeah,
more.
yeah, it's clearly Pope, but also that's not saying much though.
Do we still like old?
For another year or two, yes.
He's entering his sixth year in college basketball.
Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, I like that. I also like that both Bryce Pope and Slager are from California, so we just got like the Cali white boys back on a USC team. I think Bryce Pope's going to start for this team. I'm a little skeptical of exactly what that looks like, but I think Des Claude needs a smaller point guard next to him, and in theory that could be Bryce Pope. I think defensively it's probably a complete mess, but on paper I think that's what you need to do. Final name is St. Thomas. A lot of people love St. Thomas, including you. 19.7 points a game, 4 assists last year, 47% from the floor for Northern Colorado. St. Thomas is a kid, Cart. He started his career playing 2 years at Loyola Chicago. That's a program we pay a lot of attention to because we love Drew Valentine. He could not crack the rotation. He was not good enough at Loyola Chicago on a couple bad Loyola teams. He goes to Northern Colorado. He's awesome. And now you think he could be an all Big Ten level guy. I need you to explain that one to me.
I thought I told you he's a star. No, I'm kidding. No, I got him in the star role because look, I think it wasn't just basketball things for St. Thomas. I think that Loyola just wasn't the spot for him, wasn't the fit for him in the first place, just straight up. Um, and I think that him in a Musselman like system, like there's some freedom, there's some freedom to just go out there and be yourself and kind of do you. I think works better. I think there's not as much structure with Muss in a respectful way. And I think that he's going to be good in that type of offense. And look, he's a guy that at 6'7", he averaged 10 rebounds a game. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists is crazy numbers on 47% and 33% from three, even at Northern Colorado. I think he has the size. I think he has the game. He's a star. I love St. Thomas. I'm gonna always hold St. Thomas stock.
If one of the first things you say to me is, yeah, he just needs less structure, I'm usually out on that guy. Now I think you're right, but I don't think that bodes well for USC, man. If the plan is just like give the ball to Saint and Dez and get out of the way, that feels redundant and gross and weird, and I don't really love any of the role players around him. Like I guess the path for this team to be really good is Des Claude and Saint need to be great. I also think Drew Valentine's like awesome, and if he couldn't get St. Thomas to be even playable, like why do we think at the Big Ten level it's going to work? Just because of one really good season for Northern Colorado? That's it?
It's happened before.
Has it?
That don't connect.
Yeah, you're right. I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a skeptic, but I think he's a starter for sure. I don't see star incoming. I think Des Claude's the best player on this team. That's everybody. I'm out of
You
breath
you, you did
after
forget
doing.
one guy actually.
Did I? Who did I miss?
Rayshawn Agee.
Oh yeah, totally skipped Rayshon Ag. Whoops.
Yeah. Role player for what it's worth. I think he'll be a backup front court player.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he averaged double double last year, Bowling Green.
Yeah, but do you start him over Agbo?
No,
Okay, then backup.
sorry. I mean, the odds of me forgetting somebody from this 11-man class was like minus
You did
500.
you
So
you did great.
cash those tickets. Who's the best player from this transfer class?
St. Thomas.
I'm going Des Claude. Who's the most improved player from this transfer class by the end of the season?
Hatton.
Hatton. I agree. He's the guy I expect to get a lot better and grow. Give me your transfer hot take.
Oh. Ah. USC makes the tournament.
That's not a transfer hot take. That's
Oh,
just.
sorry.
I mean, I'll let you rock with it. You
No.
believe in this group.
St. Thomas leads the Big Ten in scoring.
That's a insane statement, but okay. All right. Um, every single guy in this 11-man transfer class starts at least 5 games.
Every single one.
That's like, remember Arkansas last year where Muss was just like doing different shit every game while they lost by 30?
Yeah.
I think that's this. And it's a every equal opportunity. And then halfway through the season, he like scraps the old guys completely for the young guys.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Good luck, USC. There's the video. We have 20 more of these going up on the channel in the coming days. Thanks for watching Meet the Transfers. Car, you know what I love about you?
That I'm handsome?
You're reliable. I can count on you. Honestly, you remind me of Aaron Henry a little bit. Remember when their back was against the wall, nothing was going right, and man just showed up every day. He didn't make excuses. There were no problems. There were just solutions.
Sounds like me.
That's you. And it also reminds me of Duncan Mechanical Solutions, because if you're looking for quality furnace repair, look no further than the heating and air experts that you can trust. Comfort and quality are their standard. They're an HVAC company that serves Northeast Indiana and Southern Michigan, whether it's heating and air conditioning, plumbing, kitchen and bath remodeling, or emergency services when you need them most. Duncan Mechanical Solutions has reliable service that you can count on. Cart, remember when your basement almost exploded?
I remember when my basement almost exploded. I remember when my furnace itself was acting funny. I remember when my AC was acting funny. I wish I had Dunkin' in my back pocket. I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been anywhere in northern Indiana or southern Michigan that hasn't been perfectly cool or perfectly warm, depending on when the day called for. And that's because of Duncan Mechanical Solutions. They are the presenting sponsor for the month of July. Shout out to Duncan Mechanical Solutions. Go to duncanmechanicalsolutions.com to learn more.